So here's your icebreaker question to get you started for today. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? If you could go visit anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? Talk about that with your group, and when you're ready to dive into the scriptures, then you can press play to continue. So the kind of places that I would like to go, I haven't gone to, are halfway around the world, and so money keeps me from going there. And some of the places I'd like to visit are kind of in the Middle East, and I think my wife is concerned that if I go there, um, I might start World War III. I don't know. So regardless, I can't go to some of these places, but I'll tell you what I can do. I can use my imagination to go to some of these places. Imagination is powerful, isn't it? It can transport us to a completely different place. It can take us to a different time. And as we allow ourselves to go someplace in our mind's eye, we experience it to a certain level, at least inside, as we use our imagination. Now, I'm not trying to say that we all need to get VR glasses or something. What I am saying, though, is that we have ways that we use our imagination to transport ourselves into another place and another time, really on a regular basis. When you read a book, you take yourself into the story, especially if it's a novel, and you put yourself into the time place of their characters. We watch television, and we allow ourselves to suspend reality and to go into the reality of the TV characters. We do the same thing with movies. VR I brought up. It is a real thing, and we do have video games that we can play. And as we do that, we kind of escape the reality of this world and we go into a different world. So, what we're going to be doing is throughout this series, we're going to be encouraging ourselves to imagine life differently. And before we get into specifically what we're going to be imagining, I'd just like for you to talk about with your group a little bit what your favorite way of imagining or going into a different place, a different time in your mind. What's your favorite way of doing that? Is it reading books or watching television or movies or videos or playing video games or VR glasses, whatever it is? Talk about that with your group. Just get to know each other a little bit. Use it as an opportunity to share with each other and find out your favorite ways of escaping this world and going into a different world. When you're done talking about that and finding out about each other in that way, then you can go ahead and press play on the video, and we'll start talking about how we are going to imagine life differently. When we imagine, we tend to put ourselves in a picture. Maybe we see a picture, or maybe we see ourselves in the film or in a video, or immerse ourselves into a video game. And our imagination kind of takes us there where we see a lot of things visually. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be imagining life differently by taking a look at what it would be like to walk together with God, like Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden. Now, this story is a universal story, and we find it not only in our Bibles, but it's a part of histories and traditions of the Jewish faith and of Islam. And the story of Adam and Eve is so well known and so universal that even folks that don't have a religious background will often know the story. And so, as we dive into this story, what I'm going to be encouraging you to do is to start putting a picture together in your head. Start to visualize being in the Garden of Eden like Adam and Eve were. Visualize yourself walking around the garden, talking with God. That's what we're going to be doing in this series. And as we do, we'll get to start to see a picture. Now, as we put the picture together and we start to see it, I want you to just kind of think of it like maybe puzzle pieces that can fit together. And as you put the pieces and click them into place, then you can see the picture. Um, Everything that we're going to be doing throughout this series is going to be putting together one big picture. But what we're going to do is we're going to work on the puzzle a little section at a time. So each week, we're going to look at a new section, a new part of the picture. And by the time we get done, we'll have the entire picture together, a picture that I refer to as a garden walk. It's just a way to remind us that it's Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden, walking together with God, a garden walk. And so as you take a look at the story that I share, and some extra pieces as well, I will be sharing them straight from the Bible, because LifeBridge is a Christian church that is working straight from the Bible. And the picture that you will be getting is going to be coming straight out of those scriptures that we find in the Bible. Now, again, the base story here is one that is more universal than just the Bible. And so you might find comfort in that, and knowing that others all see this picture as well. But if you are coming from a Christian background, you'll also notice that I use a lot of different translations. And the reason I'm doing it is simply to let you know that that this picture that we're talking about is in all of our Bibles. Regardless of if you have more books or less books or a specific translation that is your favorite, all the way through all of these books, this picture, this part of God's picture, is universal to all of us. Now, as we're doing that, I just want to ask you the question and get you a chance to talk about it. What we're talking about is seeing God's picture for our lives, what God has desires for us, and what God had in mind. And so my question for you as we start this journey is, what about God's picture would you like to learn throughout this journey? What would you like to be able to see? Maybe another way to ask it is, if you had any questions for God, what would they be? Go ahead and write them down. Note it for yourself. If you've got a journal, a piece of paper to write that on, and hold on to those questions as we start to go through this journey, to see if maybe you get answers to some of your questions by looking at the part of the picture that we're going to be looking at over the next 7 weeks. The other thing I wanted to encourage you to talk about here as we're talking about this picture is that putting the picture together, a lot of times it's easier if we have help. And so your facilitator, your discussion facilitator in your small group, has a list of some different tools, some resources that are available to help you to put this picture together. Of course, your starting point can be right out of your own version of the Bible, or wherever you can get the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And that can be your starting point for putting the picture together. But in addition to that, we have other resources that are available to you. And I'm just going to give that list to your group facilitator so that they can talk to you about what's available. And you can talk about what kinds of things you would like to get for your journey to take along with you, so that it'll help you to put this picture together. When you're done with that discussion, go ahead and press play, and we'll go on to the next section of our time together. Well, I'll tell you, I'm really looking forward to this spiritual journey and going on this journey together with you. I will say this, that as we see this picture and start to put it together, this picture that is God's picture of life and what God wants for us, what we're going to find is that I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler alert here, that God wants us to live, that God wants us to live abundantly, that God wants us to live eternally. Um, really, God's picture for us, design and desire for us as human beings, is a beautiful picture. And what God wants for us is great. So, as you start to put this together, I shared some scriptures there. You can go ahead and read together in your group to remind you that God wants us to live abundantly, to live eternally. And I want you to talk about, as we go into this last discussion together, I want you to talk about your reaction to that God wants us to live. Is that something that you already knew? Is that something that this is the first time you've heard it? Is that something that you hear it, but you really don't, you know, you don't believe it? You have a hard time getting yourself there. Um, be honest about where you are in this whole process, because what we're trying to do is to help us all imagine life differently, see God's picture, and then enjoy the benefits and the blessings that come from walking together with God. And also, just talk a little bit about somebody else that comes to mind. Do you have any people that come to mind who need to hear what I just said? That what God wants for them is good, that God wants them to live and live abundantly and to live eternally. Um, do you know of somebody who would really benefit from seeing this picture? Um, this is an introduction week where we have the chance to just kind of see where this spiritual journey is going. And it's not too late to invite somebody to come along, to join you in group next week, to watch on the church services, any of the resources that you talked about that are available. They're all there to help us all to see this picture and then to enjoy the benefits and the blessings that come from walking together with God. Take the time to pray for one another and pray for those people that are on your heart that you want to invite onto this journey with you before you finish up your time together with each other. I look forward to seeing you next week. Know that as you're entering into this journey, I'm praying for you and that I will continue to lift you up all the way through as we see the picture and draw near to God. God bless.